Hello, guys. Welcome to a wonderful evening. Hello, guys, all of you. Can you guys hear me? If you could hear me, please write Go Corona in the chat box. Please write Go Corona in the chat box. At least that is how we show a protest, right? If my voice is clear, please write Go Corona in the chat box. Am I clear? If clear, please write Go Corona in the chat box. Hello, Madhav, Vinu, Simran, Rupali, Nirupama, Vishwa, Pooja, Pragati, Dishari, Shauhani, Sakshi, Jayanti, and the list goes on. I cannot read all your names. Please write Go Corona in the chat box if my voice is crystal clear. Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. So the attendance is rising. Good, good, good. It's a wonderful evening, at least in my place over here in Chennai. At least it's raining over here. So I hope it's a good evening for you guys also. Hello, guys. So I am assuming that since all of you guys have written in the chat box, I'm assuming that my voice is crystal clear. My voice is crystal clear, right? Hello, guys. Good to meet you. Good to meet you. So, guys, yes. Perfect. Very good. Very good. Good to see you all. Good to see you all. A very lovely good afternoon, good evening, whatever you want to call it. Hello. Good afternoon, Satyam. I got it. Yeah. So, it's good afternoon. Yeah. Cool. Okay, perfect, guys. Everyone, now listen. Please listen to me over here. I want all your attention over here. You know, you guys have joined for the crash course over here. So let me tell you some very important things. Let me tell you some very important things. Okay, please listen. Hello, guys. Hello, newcomers. Love you guys. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sudarshan. Okay, so I'll be taking chemistry for you. Okay, within the span of this entire crash course. So just an introduction about myself. I did my master's and graduation from BITS Pilani. BITS Pilani is a premier engineering college in the country. Okay, so after that, I've been into this teaching for the past 6 to 7 years. Okay, is my voice clear? Is my voice completely clear? Is my voice completely clear? If it's clear, please put Go Corona in the chat box. Go Corona in the chat box. If it's clear, please put Go Corona in the chat box. Yes, the attendance have touched 100. I'm so happy. Perfect. Very good. Yes. That's the Josh. So, guys, listen. Listen, guys. I want to tell you something. So, yeah, introducing myself. So, I have been in this industry for the past 6 to 7 years. Okay, so I have tutored and mentored a lot of successful students. Just to make you guys confident, I have just given you the introduction. Okay, and something about the course over here. It's very important. I'm just switching off the chat for the time being. I'm just switching off the chat to private mode for the time. Good afternoon. I'm just switching it to private for the time being. Just listen, guys. This is how my course, my entire package would be for you guys for all the chapters. You know, it's a 1.5 hours. You know, it's a 1.5 hours course, right? For each chapter, okay. Except for certain big chapters, most of the chapters will be dealt in 1.5 hours. Okay, so you know most of the chapters are usually dealt in about 15 hours or 16 hours. We are bringing down that to 1.5 hours in a capsule form. Okay, so we will not be touching all the topics. We'll be touching the most important topics for your NEET exam. So it will be a speedy run through on the important topics. It will be a very speedy run through on the important topics. Okay, and along with the run through on the important topics, we will have problem solving using clue approach. What do you mean by problem solving using clue approach? Guys, we'll be solving problems, and since we have only 1.5 hours, okay, I'll be giving you clues so that you can solve the problems very easily. Okay, under very less amount of time. But that was not the case actually. In real exam, there are no clues. This is just to make your practice simpler in this 1.5 hours of session. Clear? Is it fine? Can you, if it's clear, can you put a yes? Can you put a yo in the chat box if my directions are clear? Yes, yo, perfect. Good. And also have to tell you one thing. We have a class teacher, okay, who's a subject matter expert. He is Mr. Satyam Singh. So while I'm taking the class, when the chat is off, please ask your doubts to Mr. Satyam. Okay, he's a subject matter expert. He's a class teacher. Okay, please ask the doubts. Do not hesitate. Clear your doubts with your class teacher. No students will leave the class without clearing the doubts. That is one of the agenda. I'm very strict in that. Okay. Or else, if you're not comfortable in asking doubts, you can ask personal doubts. Okay. In my WhatsApp, I'm giving you my number also over here. I don't want any of my students to leave my class without clearing any doubts. Okay. So understand the class would be fast paced, 1.5 hours class. Okay. And no sound coming. Tanya, Vinu, please refresh it. Had said that you will cover entire syllabus. Rajbala, don't worry, we will be covering the entire syllabus. But ultimately understand this is a crash course. Every chapter I have allotted 1.5 hours. All the topics will be covered, but in a speedy approach. Don't expect, you know how long it takes to cover an actual chapter, right? So we cannot touch all the chapters. We'll be giving you maximum productivity. Clear? Is it fine? Okay. So, guys, so once again, I'll tell you, we have our subject matter expert, okay, Mr. Satyam Singh. Please ask all the doubts while I'm taking the lecture. Fine, okay. So, guys, I want an answer from this. Answer this question. Answer this question, sir. Answer this question, boys and girls. Answer this question. How's the Josh? Guys, you guys are writing NEET exam. You guys are attending crash course. The Josh should be high. The Josh should be high. Okay, we are going on a fast-paced train. It'll be a very exciting session. Okay, I'll be giving you a lot of shortcuts, lot of flow charts to remember. Okay, so Josh should be high. Clear? Fine. Yes, I could see it's high, guys. All of you. Now buckle up. We are going to start the engine. Buckle up, and I'm going to switch off the chat to private. Once again, I'm telling you, if you have any doubts, please feel free to contact your class teacher. Okay, fine, perfect. Make this 1.5 hours very productive. Clear? Fine. Okay. So the chat is off. Everyone listen. Keep aside all your work. Full focus over here. 1.5 hours, very fast sessions about to start, and it goes right now. So guys, everyone, just listen one thing. One second, guys. I just need to adjust certain things over here. Okay, guys, the chapter that we will be starting with, the first chapter, I think you have been given the schedule. The first chapter would be atomic structure. Okay, and we'll be touching the main topics. We will not go through all the single pages in your textbooks or guides. Okay, we'll be touching the important topics. I'll be giving you shortcuts. So the first main important topic in atomic structure, everyone listen. Keep the Josh high. Keep your pen ready. Okay. Anyway, you'll be getting all these notes in the form of PDF. Okay, and you'll be able to watch the videos. Okay. So the first important, very important topic is Bohr's atomic model. Okay. So Bohr's atomic model is based on the quantum theory of radiation and the classical concept of physics. So guys, don't worry about the sentence over here. The first sentence itself, I'm going to rub it over here. Okay, don't worry about the sentence. Let's go to the postulates directly. The path of the electron is circular, and the force of attraction between the nucleus and the electron is equal to the centrifugal force. So what I'm going to do is, guys, I will tell you one thing. I have to inform you something. Guys, since I'm stuck in Chennai because of this lockdown, okay, I will not be having my Wacom, that is my writing pad, with me. So whatever is supposed to be written on the board, I have already pre-written and uploaded in the form of images. Can everyone see the image over here? Please reply in the chat box. Can everyone see the image over here? Please reply in the chat box. Yes. Can everyone see my pen? Can everyone see my pen over here? Can everyone see my pen over here? Can everyone see the drawing over here? Yes, yes. Not just the image. Can you see where the pen is going? Can you see where the pen is going? That is also important. Okay, fine, perfect. So everyone focus, 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 focus. I'm going to switch off the chat. I'm going to switch off the chat. So Bohr's model, the first point in Bohr's model, the path of the electron is circular and the force of attraction between nucleus and electron is equal to the centrifugal force. So guys, if you take the atom over here, Bohr said that electrons move around in orbits like this. Okay, and the force of attraction between the nucleus and the electron is the centrifugal force. What is centrifugal force? Centrifugal force is the force that keeps any object rotating. For example, the centrifugal force of earth is nothing but the force of attraction between the sun and the earth. So basically Bohr said that the reason why electron revolves around the nucleus is because of the centrifugal force between them. Clear? Next point, guys, I'm just touching the important points. Okay, these points postulates should be stuck in your mind. Okay, electron can revolve only in those orbits whose angular momentum is an integral multiple of mvr is equal to nh by 2 pi. So guys, angular momentum, you have learned in physics, angular momentum is given by mvr. Okay, Bohr said that electrons cannot revolve in all the orbits. It's not like after this orbit electron can go to an orbit in between over here. No, that is not possible. That is not possible. It's like the orbits of electrons are fixed. And how do you fix it? Only those orbits in which the angular momentum is nh by 2 pi. Angular momentum is nh by 2 pi. Guys, wherever I'm putting a star, understand that it's very, very important. Wherever I'm putting a star, understand it's very, very important. Okay. So angular momentum should be nh by 2 pi, where n is equal to the orbit number. For example, the first orbit, it will be h by 2 pi. Next one would be 2h by 2 pi. Next one would be 3h by 2 pi. There is nothing like 2.5 h by 2 pi. That is, the electron cannot come in between. From here, if at all the electron gets excited, it will go to this orbit. It has fixed orbits. That's what Bohr said. Next point, electron remains in stationary orbit where it does not lose energy. Okay, electron remains in stationary orbit. That means if an electron is revolving around the nucleus, it does not lose energy on its own, which was predicted by Maxwell. Maxwell predicted that if an electron is revolving, it will emit radiations, and ultimately electron will spiral into the nucleus. But Bohr said that because each orbit has its own energy, the electron will be revolving around the nucleus in this energy. It will not spiral into the nucleus and the atom will not collapse. Okay, that is the next point. And the last point, each stationary orbit is with a definite amount of energy, which we have already mentioned. And the difference between two orbits is given by E2 minus E1. Okay. Difference between third and second is E3 minus E2. Difference between fourth and third is E4 minus E3. Now, one very important point, which is corresponding to NEET and also JEE also, is this is something that students overlook. The difference between the energy of the second orbit and the first orbit. I'll show it on the over here in the diagram. Difference between the energy of the second and the first. This difference is higher than that between third and second. Okay, guys, is my voice clear? Is my voice clear? I just got a message saying that my voice is breaking. Please reply in the chat box. Please reply in the chat box. Is it clear? Please put yes if it's clear. Guys, if it's breaking, probably it's because of the internet. Okay, please refresh your page. Okay, it will not be a technical problem. Please refresh your page, guys. Refresh your internet. Okay. Is my voice clear right now? Is my voice clear right now? Is it? Please put yes in the chat box. Pen not visible in lower corner. Is the pen visible right now? Is the pen visible right now? Is the pen visible right now? Yes. Guys, for students, if it's lagging, please refresh and check. Might be a problem in the network over there. Okay, because confusion between orbit and Sridevi, that'll be dealt with. Orbit and orbitals will be dealt with. Rohit, the session will be in English, okay, because majority of the students have opted for English. Screen is not full length. Centripetal and centrifugal are equal and opposite forces. That's not an issue. Okay, fine. Screen is not rotating. Guys, please check your technical problems from your side. Please refresh and see. Okay, please refresh and see. Okay, please, because majority of the students say there's no problem. That means there's no technical issue from this side. Please refresh and see. Okay, clear. Let's start. So guys, understand that the energy between the second orbit and the first orbit will be greater than the energy between the third and the second, will be greater than the energy between the fourth. Suppose there's an orbit over here. I'm not drawing it fully. Energy between the fourth and the third will be lesser than energy between fifth and fourth. Got it? Understand, this is very important point. This was asked once in NEET also. Okay, so the energy between, I'll come again, energy between these two, the gap between these two, and the gap between these two will be greater than the gap between these two, will be greater than the gap between these two, and as it goes up, the progression continues. Fine, clear? Now, next is Bohr. Also, through his postulates, Bohr was also able to find out the energy of each orbit. Energy of each orbit. Okay, the energy of each orbit is given by this equation. If the energy is mentioned in joules, if the energy is mentioned in joules, it is minus 21.79 into 10 power minus 19 z square by n square, where z is nothing but the atomic number, where z is nothing but the atomic number of the atom that we are considering. For example, if it is hydrogen, atomic number would be 1. You have to substitute 1 over here. If it's helium, if it will be atomic number as 2 over here. Okay, if it's lithium, it will be 3 over here. And n is nothing but the orbit under consideration. N is nothing but the orbit under consideration. Suppose we want to find out the energy of the first orbit, you have to substitute 1 over here. Energy of the second orbit, you have to substitute 2 over here. Got it? Fine. So basically understand that energy of a particular atom is inversely proportional to its square of orbit. Got it? That means energy is inversely proportional to square of orbit number that we are talking about. Clear? Fine. And understand there's a negative sign. Look at this. There's a negative sign. There's a negative sign over here. Got it? What does this negative sign tell you? This negative sign tell you that as you go away from the nucleus, now this point is very important. As you go away from the nucleus, the energy increases. Because as you go away from the nucleus, n value increases. When n value increases, the total magnitude decreases. Total magnitude decreases means negative value. If let's say we consider minus 3 and minus 2. Let's say we consider minus 3 and minus 2. We know that minus 2 is greater than minus 3, right? Got it? Even though magnitude of 3 is greater than 2, minus 2 is greater than minus 3. This says that as n increases, energy increases. Got it? As orbit number increases, energy increases. Fine, that's one very important point. And energy is always given in negative quantity. Now, if you want to convert into electron volt, joules to electron volt, the energy would be minus 13.6 z square by n square. So this number, remember, most of the questions will be asked in electron volt. Minus 13.6 z square by n square. Now, if you want to convert into calories, kilocalories, it will be minus 313.6 z square by n square. Okay, and it is calories per mole. That means you have to multiply this number by Avogadro number. Convert this into calories and multiply by Avogadro number. Okay, and if they are asking the question in kilojoules per mole, take this number and multiply it by Avogadro number. This is joules per atom. This is joules per mole, kilojoules per mole. So this into Avogadro number. Got it? That is this. So understand, guys, don't ask me to derive these equations right now. That will be a time wastage. I am asking you to learn these formulas in your head. These formulas should stick in your head. And out of these formulas, the second one is the most important one. Third and fourth is the least important one. Third and fourth is the least important one. Second one is the most important one. Clear? Most of the questions they'll be asking what is the energy of the fourth orbit of helium. Fourth orbit of helium means N would be 4, Z would be 2. Got it? Fine. Now, next point. So guys, this is the total energy of the orbit. This is the total energy of the orbit. There is something called as a potential energy. There is something called as a potential energy. Total energy is nothing but potential energy plus kinetic energy. Now, guys, if they ask a question for potential energy, find the potential energy. It's nothing but Tanya, please watch the video. Okay, repetition will be minimal over here. Please watch the video. Okay, try to cope up with the pace. Try to cope up with the pace. I know it's your first class. Okay, I would advise, I'll give you certain instructions by the end of the class. Okay, follow that instruction for the next class onwards. Now, potential energy. Guys, this is the total energy. Okay, if they are asking potential energy, just multiply this by 2. Just multiply this by 2. 2 into total energy is potential energy. So you might be asking, sir, total energy is supposed to be greater than potential energy, right? How is it 2 into E? Guys, the idea is there's a negative symbol over here. If let's say the total energy is -6, so potential energy would be -12. You know -12 is lesser than -6. You know -12 is lesser than -6. That is the logic. Got it? Now, kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is minus of E. Kinetic energy is minus of E. That is negative value of this. Let's say total energy is -6. So kinetic energy would be 6. Kinetic energy would be 6. So look at this, 6 plus -6. Kinetic energy plus potential energy is equal to total energy. Got it? So understand these formulas also. Understand these formulas also. Potential energy is equal to 2 times total energy, and kinetic energy is equal to negative of the total energy. That means if let's say total energy is -3, kinetic energy would be 3. Total energy is -5, kinetic energy would be 5. Got it? And these formulas, keep these formulas in mind. I know it will be difficult to memorize this right now, but for once the session is over, you make sure that you go through it. Okay, it'll be clear to you. Next one, one second. Next is basically radius of each orbit. Okay, so now we have found out the formula to find out energy of each orbit. Energy of each orbit is -13.6 z square by n square. Now let us find the formula for radius of each orbit. Let's say radius of the first orbit. Let's say radius of the first orbit for an atom of atomic number Z is 0.529 n square by Z. So first orbit means n is equal to 1. And give the corresponding atomic number. So this is the formula. Again, please don't look at the derivation. Derivation will not be asked for the exam, for NEET exam or JEE exam. Just follow this formula. Just follow this formula, 0.529 n square by Z. Let's say you want to find out the radius of the fourth orbit of lithium. Fourth orbit of lithium. You have to find out the radius of the fourth orbit of lithium. N is equal to 4 and Z is equal to 3 because atomic number of lithium is 3. So it's 0.529 n square by Z. Clear? Fine. Next is velocity of electron in each orbit. Velocity of electron in each orbit. Each orbit has its own velocity also. It is given by 2.188 into 10 power 8. This is Z by N. Okay. This is Z by N. Atomic number by orbit number. Atomic number by orbit number. So let's say you want to find out the velocity of the fourth orbit. velocity of electron in the fourth orbit of lithium. You want to find out the velocity of electron in the fourth orbit of lithium. That means you put Z is equal to 3 and N is equal to 4. Simple. Got it. Guys, when I'm doing the questions, I'll give you these formulas, okay, for today. But these formulas should be stuck in your mind. These are all based on previous year NEET papers. Okay, the most important topics have been chosen. Next is number of revolutions per second. That means how many, if an electron is revolving in this orbit, how in 1 second, how many revolutions will it take? How many revolutions will it undergo? That's also called as a frequency. That's also called as a frequency. Got it? How many revolutions will it go in 1 second? That is nothing but find the velocity in that particular orbit, find the velocity in that particular orbit and divide by the circumference of the orbit. So velocity divided by circumference will give you the number of revolutions per second. This was asked only once in NEET. So there's a good chance that they will ask it again. This was asked only once in NEET. There's a good chance that they'll ask it again. So I'm going to put a star. Guys, remember when I put a star, it means that it is extremely important. I'm not telling these are not important. What I'm telling is this is extremely important because this was asked only once in NEET. Clear? So guys, V, if we substitute this value, 2.188 into 10 power 8 and 2 pi r, instead of r, we substitute this value. We get an overall formula 6.6 into 10 power 15 z square by n cube. That is what you have to know. Got it? Understand number of revolutions per second is nothing but the number, as in the number of times it goes around the orbit in 1 second. And that is given by 6.6 into 10 power 5 z square by n cube. Let's say the question is how many revolutions will the electron take in 1 second in the fourth orbit of lithium? In the fourth orbit of lithium, how many revolutions will it undergo in 1 second? Substitute n equal to 4 and substitute z is equal to 3. Got it? Substitute n is equal to 4 and substitute z is equal to 3. Okay. Next, let's see Rydberg's equation. Rydberg's equation, I know you might have forgotten this, so I'll just give you a gist about what this is. Guys, let's say the nucleus is over here, and let's say we have these orbits. First orbit, I have not drawn the full orbit over here. I have not drawn the full orbit over here. So you have this orbit, second orbit, third orbit, fourth orbit, fifth orbit. Let's say an electron is in the fifth orbit. Let's say an electron is in the fifth orbit, and let's say it falls to the third orbit. Let's say it falls to the third orbit. Whenever electron jumps from a higher energy orbital to a higher energy orbit to a lower energy orbit. Okay, higher energy orbit to a lower energy orbit. Till now, we have not dealt with orbital constant. Okay, these are all orbits. It jumps from a higher energy orbit to a lower energy orbit. Energy is released in the form of photon because there is an energy gap between these two, right? So energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. So when it jumps from this to here, it got an energy. Its new energy is equivalent to the energy of the third orbit. So where did the extra energy go? Extra energy is liberated in the form of photon. It's like excretion, right? You eat a lot of food, you need only some food, the rest of it is excreted out, right? Similar to that, this jumps to the third, the rest of the energy is excreted out in the form of photons. So according to conservation of energy, the difference between these two orbits, energy difference between these two orbits is equal to the energy of photon. How much it initially had and how much it finally had. Difference between that is nothing but the energy of the photon. That is what is being written over here. Energy of the fifth orbit minus energy of the third orbit is equal to energy of the photon. In general, we can write, if it jumps from a higher orbit to a lower orbit, higher orbit is denoted by 2, okay, lower orbit is denoted by 1. 2 and 1 doesn't mean that second orbit to first orbit. Understand, always 2 and 1 means higher orbit to lower orbit. Okay, E2 minus E1 means higher orbit to lower orbit. Okay, it can be anything, 4 to 3 or 4 to 2 or 5 to 1 or 6 to 8, 6 to 2 or 7 to 1. Got it? In general, we can write the frequency emitted is equal to h mu is equal to E2 minus E1. Got it? Now, you know that mu frequency is equal to, guys, I'm finding it difficult to write without the writing pad, but don't worry. This thing, your course is not affected because whatever is to be written, I am uploading in the form of images. So mu is equal to C by lambda. So if I substitute C by lambda over here, I will get an equation. When I substitute all the values, I'll get a beautiful equation like this. Again, you don't need to learn the derivation. Just understand the concept. So 1 by lambda is equal to the wave number. 1 by lambda is nothing but the wave number. So wave number of the photon emitted is given by RH into Z square. Z is the atomic number of atom under consideration, into 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. N1 and n2, again I'm telling, it's not the first orbit and the second orbit, it is a higher orbit to lower orbit. That means, let's say it's jumping from 5th to 3rd. Let's say it's jumping from 5th to 3rd. That means what will be n2? N2 will be 5. What will be n1? N1 will be 3. And what is RH value? RH value is this. This you need to by heart, 109677. Let's say you're considering hydrogen atom, then Z will be 1. Got it? So let's say the question is like, what will be the wave number? Listen to this. What will be the wave number of the particle, or what will be the wave number of the photon emitted when electron makes a jump from 5th to 3rd? 5th to 3rd, what is the wave number? Got it? In hydrogen atom. So N2 equal to 5, N1 equal to 3. Got it? And Z is equal to 1. Hydrogen atom, N2 equal to 5, N1 equal to 3. RH is equal to 109670 centimeter inverse. Please remember this formula. Okay? It will help you. Fine. Next is, guys, this one I'm putting a star over here because this rarely questions have come in need. Total number of spectral lines. Okay. It's given by the formula n into n minus 1 by 2 when electron jumps from nth level to the ground level. What does this mean? What does this mean? Guys, this I want all of you guys to listen carefully. Most of the students do not consider this important, but this is important. Guys, if an electron, let's say I say that electron is moving from a higher orbit n2 to n1, okay, n2 to n1, higher orbit to lower orbit. Guys, when it jumps from a higher orbit to a lower orbit, that is a higher orbit to the ground level, look at this, to the ground level, that means n1 over here is 1, n1 over here is 1, okay, n2 can be anything. It can do that in different ways. It can do that in different ways. Either it can jump directly to 1. Either it can jump directly to 1, or let's say it can go to this one. So right now it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth orbit. You can go to the fourth orbit and then go to the first orbit. Or let's say jump to the third orbit and then it go to the first orbit. So guys, what is happening over here? What is happening over here? When it directly jumps to 1, it will leave out a photon. That is one spectral line. That frequency will be one value. When it goes to 4 and goes to 1, that means the energy gap between here will give you another photon. Energy gap between 4 to 1 will give another photon. So basically you got two more spectral lines. So basically understand, if it is going from a higher orbit to the ground level, it can give out a lot of spectral lines. Got it? Depending on the path it chooses. Let's say it's go from 3, first it jump to 3 and then it jumps to 1. Look at this, E5 to E3, it will give you one line, and E3 to E1 it will give you another line. Line means photon. Got it? So basically, there is a way to calculate this. Total number of spectral lines is n into n minus 1 by 2 when electron jumps from nth orbit to the ground level. Got it? And when electron jumps from, rather than jumping to the ground level, if it jumps from, let's say, E5 to E3, not ground level, E5 to E3, then also we can use a formula, but in a modified way. n2 minus n1 into n2 minus n1 plus 1. That is, when it jumps from a higher orbit n2 to a lower orbit n1, n1 would be the lower orbit. Let's say it's jumping from 5 to 3. So put n2 equal to 5, n1 equal to 3. Got it? Over here, you don't have to worry about the lower orbit because lower orbit is always 1 in this formula. Got it? Fine. So that is it about this point. Now, dual nature of matter. Guys, you all know that if I take matter, if I take a ball or any matter, okay, it is a particle. Matters are particle, right? But de Broglie said that any matter will also have a wave-like nature. Any matter will have a wave-like nature also. Particle also has wave-like properties. So why aren't we seeing, like, why is that when I move, I don't move like a wave? I don't move like, it's not like the wave that you see in dancing. Okay, it's not like when Michael Jackson or Hrithik Roshan dances, they wave, right? That is not the wave I'm talking about. Okay, I'm talking about waves with actual wavelength. Because for usual particles that we can see, this wavelength, the wavelength given by h by mb is very, very small. For this wavelength to be considerably large, the denominator has to be very small. That means mass of the particle has to be very low. So wave-like properties is evident only for subatomic particles. Wave-like properties is evident only for subatomic particles. Got it? Because this is the equation given by de Broglie. He said that any particle with mass m will have a wavelength. So if I ask you what is the wavelength of a particle of 100 grams and moving with the velocity 5, substitute 100 over here and 5 over here, and h value you know, you will find out that the wavelength is very small. That is the reason why even for a ball of 100 grams, the wavelength is not detectable. But instead of that, if I put an electron in the denominator, the wavelength will be very much detected. It will be moving in the form of a wave. Also, it has a particle nature. Also, it will have a particle nature. Clear? Now, wave, the de Broglie equation can also be written in terms of kinetic energy. Okay. So guys, over here in the denominator, I have mv. In the denominator, I have mv. mv is nothing but momentum. But momentum can be written in terms of kinetic energy like this. That's a simple equation. mv is equal to root of 2 into em. E is nothing but kinetic energy. E is nothing but kinetic energy. Look at this. Kinetic energy of the particle is E. So instead of momentum, I'll write it as root of 2 into E into M. So instead of mv, instead of p is nothing but momentum. Instead of p, I can write root of 2 into E into M. So let's say a particle of mass 100 grams. Let's say a particle of mass 100 grams and kinetic energy 50. And kinetic energy 50 is moving. They'll ask you to find out the wavelength. Substitute the value of h. Substitute value of m. M is 100. Substitute value of energy. Kinetic energy is 50. Clear? And you will get the answer. Clear? Fine. Now, guys, suppose, so this point is not so important, but still I'll explain. Suppose an electron makes n wave in one complete circle, then 2 pi r is equal to n lambda. I'll show this using an image. Now that we know electron has a wave-like property. Let's say this is an orbit. Okay, this is the nucleus of the center. Electron starts from here, it moves in a wave. This is one complete wave. Got it? Next, it moves again. This is another complete wave. Okay, next it moves again. This is another complete wave. Understand that the circumference of the orbit will be an integral multiple of n lambda. No, sorry, integral multiple of lambda. Got it? For example, if I increase the circumference, if I have a bigger orbit, look at this, a bigger orbit. Bigger orbit means I can draw more waves over here. Look at this. 1, this is one wave. 2, I cannot draw it properly, but hope you guys are fine with that. 3, 4, 5, and it goes on. So I hope you understood that. I'm taking it off. So please understand that they'll ask you for a particular orbit, how many wavelengths are involved. They'll give you a value of R and they'll ask you what is the number of wavelengths involved. Or they'll ask you that these many wavelengths are involved, find the radius of the orbit. In any way, it's correct. Clear? Fine? Now, till now, is it fine for you guys? Is it fine for you guys? Any very evident doubts that you want to ask right now? I have switched on the chat. I've switched on the chat. I have switched on the chat. Perfect. Clear? Perfect. We'll be doing problems. They'll be more clear. Okay. Guys, it should be high Josh, high paced. Last point. Okay, last point I'll tell you once again. Last point I'll tell you once again. Shivam, please, that might be a problem with your device. Please check it. Okay. It might be an error from. Okay, I'll tell you spectral lines formula once again. Spectral lines formula is over here. 1 second. Spectral lines formula is over here. Okay, so I'll give you a sample question. An electron jumps from the 5th orbit to the 1st orbit. An electron jumps from the 5th orbit to the 1st orbit. How many lines will be produced or how many photons will be released? An electron jumps from 5th orbit to the 1st orbit. How many photons? No, not an electron, in an atom, in a group of atoms, electrons jump from 5th to the 1st. Okay, how many lines are produced? So you substitute 5 over here. Got it. 5 into 5 minus 1 by 2. Guys, I can modify this question. Okay, I'll make this more tricky. If one electron makes a transition from 5th orbit to the 1st orbit, how many lines are produced? If it's just one electron, there can only be one path. That means the answer is 1. But usually this formula is valid only for considering several atoms, because in all these atoms the pathway taken will be different. Got it? In that way you have to consider n into n minus 1. You have written it at right side. Please explain it. Yes, that is what I'm that is what I'm telling. Guys, if I'm considering a lot of atoms, okay, this is the formula. Usually the question would be, you will consider a bulk of atoms, because in each atom transition will have different path. But if I'm considering just one atom, in one atom there is only one pathway it can jump, right? There is only one way it can jump from 5 to 1. Got it? There is only one way it can jump from 5 to 1. Got it? So it cannot show all the spectral lines. But if I have a group of atoms, the general formula is n into n minus 1 by 2. Got it? Let's say I have 1,002 or more than that atoms. Clear? So mostly questions will come like that only. They will implicitly inside the question itself, you have to assume that there are a lot of atoms present. Clear? Fine? Okay. Okay. Now let's move into the next important part. That is quantum mechanical model. Guys, quantum mechanical model is the most important part of this chapter. What I have done is I have made things easy for you. I have made a flow chart. Over here. Just learn through this flow chart. This quantum chemistry is in the flow chart. So guys, I'll tell you which is important and which is not important. The first point in quantum chemistry is Schrodinger equation. There is an equation like this, which when we solve, we get different energy values for an electron. You don't need to know how to solve this. Just understand. Look at this flow chart. When you solve Schrodinger equation, we get different energy values for an electron and the corresponding wave function. and the corresponding wave function. What do wave function tell you? Wave function as such will not tell you anything, but the square of the wave function. Square of the wave function gives a probability of finding an electron at a given point. Now this point is important. Wherever I'm putting a star, understand it's important. That means, let's say there's a nucleus at this point. And I want to find the probability of finding the electron at this point. 1, 2, 3. How do you find it out? Take the psi value at that point, substitute 1, 2, 3. Substitute 1, 2, 3 and take the square of that. Guys, direct questions from this will not be asked. Okay. One second. Satyam, I request you to clear Febin's doubt. Okay. I request you to clear Febin's doubt. Please do not try to clear the doubt over there. Okay. Fine. And yeah. So psi square gives you the probability of finding the electron at that particular point. Psi square gives you the probability. Let's say I want to find the probability of finding the electron at point at coordinates 5, 6, 7. So what do? I take the psi value and put these numbers into it. Got it? So guys, this question will not come. They will not ask you to find the probability and all. Understand that what will come in NEET is, I'll tell you what question will come in NEET. Okay. They'll ask you, what does psi square give you? What does psi square give you? The options will be plenty. One of the options will be, it gives you the probability of finding an electron at a point around the nucleus. That is the only question that you need to know, okay, from this flowchart. Next, what do we do with the psi square? Okay, we found out the probability. What we can do with the probability is, we can find the orbitals of electrons. Using this probability, we can find orbitals. So what are orbitals and how is it different from orbit? Orbitals are regions around the nucleus where probability of finding electron is 0.9 or more than that. Let's say I take this coordinate axis. Okay, I take this coordinate axis. I find out the psi square at different point. I find out the psi square at different points. I find out that more than 90% of the time electron is present over here. Okay, electron can be present over here also, but 90% of the time it is present in this darkened space over here. That darkened space is called as orbital, and an orbit has just a boundary. Orbital is basically electron can be present anywhere inside the orbital. Now, if you guys are still not clear, I'll give you a simple analogy. What is an analogy? Analogy is basically a simple comparison, something that you can remember. A simple analogy is, orbitals are like houses of an electron. Suppose I stay in my house. 90% of the time I stay in my house, but I also visit my compound, right? I also visit my compound. Suppose this is my house and this is my compound. 90% of the time I sit inside the house. My house is the orbital. Okay. The entire compound is available for me, but 90% of the time I am found over here. That is called as the orbital. That's a simple logic you can keep in mind. Fine. Next question. Next is quantum numbers. What are quantum numbers? They give us the details of an orbital. Any analogy. Analogy means comparison. Yes, there is an analogy. They are like the address of the houses of electron. I told you that orbitals are like house. Okay, so my house has an address. It has a town, it has a street name, and it has a house number. Quantum numbers are nothing but these address. Got it? Quantum numbers are nothing but these address. Let's go to the first quantum number, the principal quantum number. Principal quantum number is denoted by n. Got it? And values of n can range from 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes on like this. Clear? Now, what does this n tell you? N talk about the energy of the orbital. Okay, that means as n value increases, energy increases. And also it talks about the size of the orbital. That means as n value increases, size also increase. How to imagine this? How to imagine this? A simple way to imagine this is n is like the shell number. N is like the shell number. Got it? So n equal to 1 means K shell, n equal to 2 means L shell, n equal to 3 means M shell. So look at this diagram. Look at this diagram. If I say that an electron is in the first shell, that means electron is present inside the shell. It cannot go outside the shell. Let's say if I have a property, if my house is over here and I say that this is my house and this is my compound wall, I can stay anywhere inside this, but I cannot go outside this compound wall. Got it? That is what n tells you. N gives you the boundary. Okay, n gives you the boundary of your house. Or basically an analogy is, look at this analogy, it is like the town name. It is like the town name. Let's say I live in Chennai city. Got it? So when I say I am in Chennai city, I cannot go beyond Chennai city, but I am inside, present somewhere inside Chennai city. Got it? That is what n value tells you. And understand these 2 points are important. If n increases, energy increases. That means if I say an electron is in second shell, its energy will be greater than an electron in the first shell. Got it? Its energy will be greater than an energy of an electron in the first shell. Energy of an electron in the third shell will be greater than energy of an electron in the second shell, and it goes on. And size, it's very clear. Look at this. Size of the third is greater than size of the second one, is greater than size of the first one. Simple. Clear? Next one, azimuthal quantum number. Next quantum number. So I got the town name now. Orbital is the address. Address has a town name. Town name is given by principal quantum number. Now let's see. Azimuthal quantum number. Azimuthal quantum number is denoted by L. Okay. Values of L. What are the values of L? For a given name, for a given principal quantum number, L can take 0 to n minus 1. L can take 0 to n minus 1. That means, for example, in Chennai city, I have different street address, right? Okay, I cannot use the street address of Bangalore city to Chennai city. Similar to that, for a given n, if the principal quantum number is fixed, I can only take a specific value of L, 0 to n minus 1. And each street has got its own name, right? Similar to that, if L value is 0, street name is S. It's called as S orbital. Got it? If it's 1, it's called as P orbital. If it's 2, it's called as D orbital. If it's 3, it's called as F orbital. Now, principal quantum number gives you energy. Azimuthal quantum number gives you shape of the orbital. Azimuthal quantum number gives you shape of the orbital. Okay, it tells you how is the shape. Clear? And also tells you angular momentum. Angular momentum of the orbital is root of L into L plus 1 h by 2 pi. Root of L into L plus 1 h by 2 pi. That means if I say that an electron is in the s orbital, s orbital means value of s orbital is 0. That means substitute the 0 over here. Root of 0 into 0 plus 1, that is 0. If I say that an electron is in p orbital, p orbital value is 1. Substitute 1 over here. Root of 1 into 1 plus 1, that is root of 2 into h by 2 pi. Clear? So angular momentum just depends on L. That's an important point. Angular momentum just depends on L. Clear? Now look at this. This is a summary of that. If n value equal to 1, if n value equal to 1, then L value can take 0 to n minus 1. What is n minus 1 of 1? N minus 1 of 1 is 0. So L value can take only 0. 0 means S. So the orbital present in first shell is 1s. Look at this. This is the combined form. 1s orbital. If n value equal to 2, L value can take 0 and 1. So you have 2s orbital and 2p orbital. If n value equal to 3, it can take 0 to n minus 1. N minus 1 is 3 minus 1, 2. That is 0, 1 and 2. So you have 3s, 3p and 3d. If n value equal to 4, you have 4s, 4p, 4d and 4f. Any analogy for this? That means any comparison for this so that it sticks to your head easily. It is like the street name. So as you, principal quantum number is your town name, your city name. Azimuthal quantum number is like a street name. Clear? Next one is your magnetic quantum number. Magnetic quantum number. Magnetic quantum number is denoted by ML. M small letter L. Got it? Values of ML for every street cannot have all the houses, right? Similar to that, value of ML for a given value of L, for a given street name, you can only have these numbers minus L to L as magnetic quantum number. What does it tell you? It gives the orientation of the orbital with respect to the coordinate axis. So I'll tell you what orientation is. That means L equal to 0. L equal to 0 means subshell is S. Subshell means the azimuthal quantum number. Okay, azimuthal quantum number is S. Got it? L equal to 0 is S. So ML can take minus 0 to plus 0. What is minus 0 to plus 0? 0. Got it? So orbitals present are S. House number is S. Got it? Now, if L value equal to 1, that means subshell is P. That means it can range from minus L to L, minus 1 to 1. That is minus 1, 0, and plus 1. You know P orbital has got 3 orientation, right? Px, Py, and Pz. Got it? If L value equal to 2, that means it can range from minus 2 to plus 2. Guys, each number denotes a particular orientation. It's like our house number. Got it? So dxy, dy is a dz, dzx, dz square, and dx square minus y square. So 5 orientation for d orbital, 3 orientation for p orbital, 1 orientation for s orbital. That means, look at this. If the street is S, there is only 1 house present over there. If the street is P, there are 3 houses present over there. If the street is D, there are 5 houses present over there. Simple. So look at the analogy for this is house number. It is like our house number. Got it? Fine. Next, spin quantum number. Spin quantum number gives an idea about the electron spinning on its own axis. For example, if I have this electron, it can spin in clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction. Okay, clockwise or anti-clockwise. Okay, clockwise or anti-clockwise. Each is denoted by plus half or minus half. It doesn't have any physical significance. Understand that. It does not tell that this value has very prominent physical significance. No, understand that one of it will mention clockwise, the other one will mention anti-clockwise. Understand, that's it. Plus half is clockwise. Let's say plus half is clockwise, minus half will have anti-clockwise spin. Got it? Fine. Now another common type of question is, what is the number of orbitals in a particular shell? A question is basically, if I take the shell 1, if I take the shell 1, n equal to 1, how many houses are present inside? Or basically, how many orbitals are present inside? Guys, 1, n equal to 1 means there is only 1 orbital present. N equal to 2 means it can have 2s and 3 2p's. Got it? N equal to 3 means it can have 3s, 3 3p's, and 5 3d's. So in general, number of orbitals in a given shell is equal to n square. That means number of orbitals in the second shell is equal to 2 square, that is 4. How do you know that? Look at this: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number of orbitals in the third shell is equal to 3 square, that is equal to 9. How do you know that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And number of orbitals in the fourth shell is equal to 4 into 4, 16. Got it? 4 into 4, 16. So that will have 16 orbitals later. I have not shown it over here. Simple. Clear? Fine? Okay. So guys, now let's move into the questions. Is it clear till now? Is it clear till now? I have made the chat public. Let's move on to the question. Let's move on to the question. Let's move on to the question. Everyone buckle up. Everyone buckle up. If you have any lag, I'm requesting you guys, if you have any lag in your this thing, please refresh and see. Okay. Or there'll be a network. How to find the spin of electron? you cannot find the spin of electron content. So someone is asking how to find the spin of electron. Spin of electron will be given. Okay, spin of electron will be given. So guys, the first question, we'll do it together. The first question, we'll do it together. Okay. Or let's say I'll put a hotspot over here. I'll put a hotspot over here. Hotspot means you will get a chance to press the option. If it's wrong, no worries. Take your time. Okay. Read the question over here. If the value of the principal quantum number is 3, the maximum number of values the magnetic quantum number is. The maximum number of values the magnetic quantum number is. Basically, I'll rephrase the question. How many orbitals are present in 3? That is the question. So I start the quiz right now. Guys, take your time. If you don't get it right, that is a problem. I don't mind whether you take time or not. Okay. This is a hotspot. This is not a quiz. Think. I'll rephrase the question. I'll give you a clue. How many orbitals are present in the third? We just discussed that. We just discussed that. How many orbitals are present in quantum number 3? How many orbitals are present in quantum number 3? How many orbitals are present in? Guys, it's not just about clicking it fast. I want correct answer. Most of you guys are giving it correct. Perfect. Yes. Think and answer. Think and answer. This was a previous year NEET question. It's a very simple question. Think and answer. Quick, quick. Okay, I'll give 5 more seconds left. Perfect. So the answer to this one is D. Answer to this one is D. 67% got it right. Guys, those who did not get it right, please listen to this. If the value of the principal quantum number is 3, that means n value equal to 3. The maximum number of values of the magnetic quantum number is. Look at this, guys. Look at this. In the previous question itself, I have dealt with it. Magnetic quantum number is nothing but how many magnetic quantum numbers are possible. That means how many orbitals are possible. Each magnetic quantum number is an orbital. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nothing but n square. N square is the formula. N square is the formula for that. That is it. Clear? That is it. Fine. So this question did not have a clue. Next question has a clue. Next question has a clue. So it's a clue approach question. Your time starts right now. It's not about getting it fast. It's about getting it right. Look at the clues. Look at the clues. I have given you the clues. Which of the following set of quantum numbers is correct? Correctly represented. Look at those clues. L can take 0 to n minus 1. M can take minus L to plus L. N can take 1, 2, 3. Using this, attempt it. Your quiz starts right now. It's correct. They are asking correct. Most of you guys are right now getting it correct. Quick, quick. Don't be fast. Be accurate. That is the agenda. You have 30 more seconds. You have 30 more seconds. You have 30 more seconds. Look at the clue, guys. Use a clue. Use the clue. Use the clue. It's a clue-based question. Think, guys. I know it's your first class, but slowly. Most of you got it right. Yes. You have 10 more seconds. And your time ends here. Those who did not get it, please don't worry. Please listen to this carefully. The option is C. Option is C. So again, most of you got it right. 44% got it right. Listen to this carefully. Which of the following set of quantum numbers is correct? Guys, look at this. Please explain shape of the orbitals. Guys, it is already, I'll come to it. We'll do questions on that, Ganim. We'll do questions on that. Don't worry. Okay, we'll do questions on that. Don't worry, Ganim. Okay. So guys, n can take 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma whatever value. So basically, let's look at option A. N equal to 2. Okay, that's fine. Okay. N equal to 0. L can take 0 to n minus 1. That means if n equal to 2, L can take 0. That means 2s orbital is possible. 2s orbital is possible. But look at ML value. ML can take minus L to plus L. That means if it's 2s orbital, the only orientation is 0. Minus 0 to plus 0. So how can minus 1 be present? How can minus 1 be present? It is wrong. Let's go to the second one. N equal to 0. Over there itself, it's completely utter bullshit. Okay. N equal to 0 is wrong. N can only take 1 comma 2 comma 3 values, or 4 or 5 or 6, whatever. Next, n equal to 3. Yes, n equal to 3 is possible. L equal to 1. If n equal to 3, L can take 0, 1, 2 values, right? So n equal to 1 is possible for n equal to 3. What is that? 3p orbital. 3p orbital, right? And ml equal to minus 1. If L equal to 1, ml can be minus 1, 0 or 1. So ml minus 1 is possible. Look at the last one. So C is the correct one. Let's look at last one also. D equal to 2. Okay, sorry. N equal to 2. Fine. But L equal to 3. How can L value be greater than N value? How can L value be greater than N value? It's not possible. Guys, in this question, this spin quantum number is not useful at all. Spin quantum number is not useful at all. It's basically these three quantum numbers. Clear? Fine. Next question. Find the number of radial and angular nodes in 2s and 3p, 2s, 3p and 4d orbitals. Okay, so before I giving you the question, nodes are regions where probability of finding electron is 0. Probability of finding electron is 0. Sir, I am asking about first question. What about first question? Please clarify your doubt, Sam. So nodes are regions where probability of finding an electron is 0. Got it. Suppose you have the coordinate axis over here and the nucleus at the center. There are certain regions around the nucleus where probability of finding the electron is 0. Got it. There are two kinds of nodes. You just have to know the formulas. Radial nodes and angular nodes. Okay, radial nodes is given by n minus L minus 1. Let's say I have an orbital 4p. I have an orbital 4p and they're asking you the radial nodes in it. So radial nodes for 4p is 4 minus n minus L. L value for p is 1. 1 minus 1. So radial nodes will be equal to 2. Angular nodes is value of p itself. Angular nodes is L. So angular nodes is 1. Total number of nodes is 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Got it? Fine. There are two kinds of nodes, radial nodes and angular nodes. Now give me the, now I'm not giving you options for this. If I have to find out the number of radial nodes for 2s, let's take the case of 2s. Okay, number of radial nodes would be 2 minus L. L value for S is 0. So it will be 2 minus 0 minus 1. It is 2 minus 0 minus 1. That is equal to 2. Number of angular nodes for 2s is L value for 2s, that is 0. So angular nodes is 0. Got it? Now for 3p. 3p would be 3 minus 1 minus 1. 3p would be 3 minus 1 minus 1. That is 1 radial node, and angular node would be 1 itself. Clear? So 3 minus 1 minus 1. All right. Now 4d would be, number of radial nodes would be 4 minus L. L value is 2 over here. Got it? So 4 minus 2 minus 1. That is 1 radial node, and angular node would be 2, because L value is 2 over there. Okay. Sam, what is about the first question? Can you please clarify it? By that time, let's go to the next question. Guys, it will be moving fast. Please get accustomed to it. We don't have time to clarify, get into the details of all chapters. Okay. I am choosing the best of questions from NEET and the best of topics. Which of the following is the energy of a possible excited state of hydrogen? Which of the following is the energy of a possible excited state of hydrogen? Guys, the clue is given over here. Energy of an orbit is minus 13.6 z square by n square. So I am putting the hotspot. The quiz starts right now. Think and answer. I'll explain it again. I'll explain it anyway. Think and answer. Most of you guys are going good. Excited state means, okay, fine. I'll explain after the question is, after the quiz ends. Think and answer, guys. Okay, that's it. The time is up. The option is, correct answer is C. Correct answer is C. Most of you got it wrong. 50% got it wrong. So that means I need proper explanation. Guys, look at this. What do you mean by excited state? What do you mean by excited state? If I take an atom, let's say with orbits like this, we have orbits like this. Okay. This is from Bohr's model. Let's say I have orbits like this and one like this also. Okay. So ground state of the atom means, ground state, there are two states, ground state and excited state. Ground state means the electron is in the lowest energy level. It's in the lowest orbit. Okay. That is n equal to 1. It is at n equal to 1. That is ground state. Excited state means it is absorbing energy and going to a higher orbit. Let's say this one or whatever. This electron absorbs energy and goes to a higher orbit. That is called as excited orbit, excited state. Now, what is the energy of ground state of hydrogen? What is the energy of the first orbit of hydrogen? Energy of first orbit is n equal to 1 and z equal to 1. Energy of first orbit is minus 13.6 because n equal to 1 and z equal to 1. Now, energy of excited state means what? Let's say n equal to 2. Put n equal to 2. N equal to 2 will give you minus 13.6 divided by 2 square. That is minus 13.6 divided by 4, which is minus 3.4. You will not get any other values for sure. You will not get minus 6.8. No matter what value of n you put, you will not get minus 6.8. No matter what value you put, you will not get plus 13.6 or 6.8. You will not get positive values for sure. All values are negative. I told you in the beginning itself, total energy comes in negative. It's negative. So this question is important. Got it? Fine. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So guys, the explanation is given over here. Let's move on to the next question. The correct set of 4 quantum numbers for the valence electrons of rubidium atom. Valence electron means final orbital electrons. Guys, the clue is given. Rubidium is an alkali metal. Rubidium is an alkali metal. So your quiz starts right now. Think and answer. Think and answer. Rubidium is an alkali metal. Lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium. This is actually from your second chapter, but think and answer. They have given the atomic number, but that atomic number is not needed actually. Rubidium is alkali metals. You know, alkali metals valence electron ends with a particular sequence. Lithium is 2s1, sodium is 3s1, potassium is 4s1. Similar to that, rubidium would be what? Okay, your time ends over here. Answer is C. Answer is C. Most of you got it right. Guys, as I told you, alkali metals always ends with 2s1, 3s1, 4s1, and rubidiums would be 5s1. What is the quantum number? 5. Principal quantum number 5. S. Azimuthal quantum number is S. S is equal to 0. If it's S, what is magnetic quantum number? Again 0. Spin can be anything. So don't get confused with spin. If it was minus half given over here, even that is correct. Spin can be anything, guys. It is basically these three. These are the majority. These are the address, town name, street name, and house number. Got it? Who lives over here? No matter. It can be plus half or minus half. Clear? Fine. Next, let's go to this topic, photoelectric effect. Guys, there are intermediate questions in between. Okay, I have added a lot of extra questions also for you guys to try it out at home. Okay, now next is photoelectric effect. You know what photoelectric effect is. I'll just show you with a small diagram. Look at this. If I have a metal plate over here and photon comes and strikes it, the electron in the metals absorbs the photon and jumps out with some kinetic energy. When radiation strikes it, electron absorbs the photon and jumps out. This is photoelectric effect. Got it? The kinetic energy with which this electron jumps out is given by kinetic energy of the electron is equal to energy of the photon, which is h mu, minus h mu naught. H mu is nothing but Planck's equation. For a photon with frequency mu, for a photon with frequency mu, h mu is energy minus h mu naught. What is this h mu naught? H mu naught can also be written as W naught, which is the work function of the metal. That is very simple, guys. Look at this. If this is the electron, okay, this is what is happening. This is a magnified image of what is happening over here. This is a magnified image. If this is the electron, this electron is strongly held by the nucleus. Strongly held by the nucleus. So the incoming photon should have more energy than the energy with which this electron is held by the nucleus. Only then it will come out with the kinetic energy. What is the energy with which it is held by the nucleus? That is a work function. That is a work function. So the incoming photon minus the work function gives you the kinetic energy of the electron. Me is the mass of electron, velocity is the velocity with which it comes out. So guys, h mu, the incoming photon energy, should be greater than the work function for photoelectric effect to happen. For photoelectric effect to happen. Now, this is a very, very important graph. Okay. Kinetic energy of the emitted electron. If you plot it against the frequency, it will show a graph like this. I'll explain this graph. Look at this. At when frequency of the incoming photon is mu 0, that means, look at this. When this frequency is mu 0, when this incoming photon is mu 0, it becomes h mu 0 minus h mu 0. That means kinetic energy is 0. That means at that point, photoelectric effect is 0. Nothing happens. But as soon as frequency starts to rise, kinetic energy starts to rise. Got it? Kinetic energy starts to rise. So this is the graph. And below this mu 0, there is no photoelectric effect. Below this mu 0, there is photoelectric effect. That means if this h mu is less than h mu 0, photoelectric effect will not happen. That means it cannot pluck this electron because nucleus is holding it very tightly. Got it? So the condition for photoelectric effect is h mu should be greater than h mu 0. H mu should be greater than h mu 0. Fine. Okay. This is about photoelectric effect. Next, one principle about electronic configuration, Aufbau principle. You know that electrons get filled in increasing order of energy. Look at this. In ground state of atoms, the orbitals are filled in order of their increasing energy. In other words, electrons occupy the lowest energy orbital available to them and enter into the highest energy orbital. Got it? That means, look at this. If I have the orbitals arranged like this, and if I, let's say I have an electron, where will I put it? Okay, I have these many houses. I will put it in the lowest energy orbital. Which is the lowest energy orbital? How do you find the lowest energy orbital? Use the n plus L rule. Not n plus 1, it is n plus L. N plus L rule. That means whichever has n plus L value, the lowest. Whichever has the n plus L value lowest. For oneness, n plus L value is 0. Sorry, 1. 1 plus 0, 1. Got it? So you put the first electron in 1. Got it? And the second electron also comes over here, which is based on Pauli's exclusion principle. Pauli's exclusion principle says that the second maximum an orbital can have 2 electrons. Okay, so first electron goes over here in oneness, then second electron goes to oneness. It's filled. Next, you move to the next higher energy, that is 2s. In 2s also you put 2 electrons. In 2s also you put 2 electrons. Got it? Next you move to 2p. In 2p there are 3 2p orbitals. There are 3 2p orbitals. Got it? So you need to fill these all first. So you can put 6 over here. Got it? Then you move to 3s and it goes on like this. Fine. So simple configuration is given over here. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. Look at this. Wherever p comes, maximum 6 electrons are possible. Wherever d comes, maximum 10 electrons are possible. Clear? I'll give you a question based on this. The orbital diagram in which Aufbau principle is violated. The orbital diagram in which Aufbau principle is violated. Look at this. The orbitals on the left side is s orbitals. The orbitals on the right side is p orbitals. Think in that terms. Think an answer. I'll explain the answer. I'll explain the answer. Don't worry. Think from your side. Your time starts right now. Guys, don't think we are going fast. We need to go fast. That is why. Okay. So make sure that you also cope up with this speed. The orbital diagram in which Aufbau principle is violated. Aufbau principle is violated. Perfect. I think most of you guys are getting it right. Brilliant. Think and answer, guys. You have 5 more seconds. Perfect. Most of you got it right. Perfect. The answer is B. 55% got it right. Guys, look at this. Over here, S got completely filled and then the electrons moved to P. Aufbau principle is not violated over here. Some other principle is violated over here. Hund's principle is violated over here. Because Hund's principle says that these should be half filled first. Only then pairing happens. First it should be half filled, only then pairing happens. Clear? But look at this one. Without completely filling this, how can you go and fill this? S orbital is 1 over here. In S orbital, there's only 1 electron. Without completely filling this, how can you start filling this one? So in rest, all of them, S orbital has 2. Only in this S orbital has 1. How is that possible? That is not possible. Hence, B is the answer. B is the answer. Clear? Fine. Now, another very important point is this one. Extra stability of half-filled and fully filled orbitals. Guys, you know that half-filled and fully filled orbitals. What do you mean by half-filled orbitals? Look at this. This is called a half-filled orbital. The maximum capacity of d orbitals is 10. But you have 5 over here. Okay. Or fully filled orbitals. Like this. They have extra stability. That's because of 2 factors. One is symmetry and the other one is exchange energy. Okay, you just need to know what these two are. Okay, just understand the terms. In NEET, they will not get into the details. They'll not ask you this point. Don't worry about this point. Total ways of exchange. Don't worry about that. Okay, in NEET, they'll just ask you what are the factors that affect the stability, symmetry and exchange energy. Clear? Fine. So I'll ask you a question based on that. The correct ground state configuration of chromium. The correct ground state configuration of chromium. This you might know. It's not actually from this chapter, but still. All of you should get this correct. Chromium's atomic number is 24. Chromium's atomic number is 24. Okay, your time ends in 5 seconds. Done. The answer to this one is obviously A. Because guys, chromium's Chromium's atomic number, show results. Most of you got it right. Brilliant. Those who did not get right, don't get dejected, don't get sad. Please prepare. Okay. I'll give you the methodology to prepare. Guys, chromium's atomic number is 24. So ideally, chromium's configuration should be 4s2 3d4. This should have been. But we know that we just learned that there is extra stability for half-filled orbitals. There is extra stability for half-filled orbitals. So rather than becoming 3d4, one electron from 4s jumps to 3d and makes it 4s1 3d5. Look at this, it's a half-filled orbital in both. It gives chromium extra stability. It gives chromium extra stability. So guys, we are done with the time for today. Okay, now the agenda is, I know some of you guys are still thinking, okay, fine, it was fast. Guys, this will be the pace. It's a crash course with a specific number of days for each chapter. So understand, I have given you a lot of questions which you have not worked out. It is your job to work it out at home. You can find it out from the slides. You'll get a PDF slides. Make sure that you work it out from home. Okay, and come back. We'll be discussing that tomorrow. Some of them, not all of them, only very some of them. Clear? So tomorrow we have your next chapter, that is periodic classification of. There is no leaderboard. Guys, I'll tell you, for crash course, I'm not giving you a leaderboard over here. I'm not giving you a leaderboard over here. Please don't leave. Please don't leave. I'll tell you. I'm not giving you a leaderboard over here because some of you guys might not be prepared. Some of you guys will be sad not seeing their names on the top. Guys, please understand. We are a family over here. Okay. Okay, fine. Yes, copper also shows the anomaly. Okay. How to get PDF? You'll get the PDF once the class ends. It will be automatically there in your portal. If guys, if Avinash is asking what if n plus L value is same? If n plus L is same, you take the value of n. For example, 3D. For 3D and 4P, if they ask you which one has highest energy, for 3D and 4P, they'll ask you which one has highest energy. Both n plus L is same, but 4P has highest energy because n value, if n plus L is same, n value matters. Clear? Yes, you can get the PDF. Please read the chapter, do the remaining problems and come. There will be some tougher problems also. Fine. Got it. Okay, guys, thank you. I'm quitting it over here. Please read this chapter and please read periodic classification of elements also for tomorrow's class. Guys, it will be fast paced. The josh should be high and your competency also should be high. Okay, guys. Thank you. Thanks a lot. See you for the next class. Also put a feedback. Okay. Thank you, guys.